Hey everyone, I'm Fabian, Product Manager here at Hygraph. Today I want to do a quick walkthrough of our newest iteration of Hygraph agents and guidelines. Up until now, you were able to launch agents from workflows. Now we're making it accessible to your content from wherever you work, both the content table and the content forum. So let's jump right in. First up, you notice that on the left-hand sidebar we have a new entry point for all things AI within Hygraph, called the AI Hub. If you click on it, there's both an overview of existing agents, you can configure new ones, you can see KPIs, so running stats and token usage, and then we have the configuration of guidelines. So let's jump right into that. Guidelines are typically used to guide your AI model when generating content, when translating, or when generating reports. We've settled for now on 4 different types. First, audience and context, then brand voice and tone, a glossary, and legal and compliance. Let's jump in a glossary and take a look at how that looks like with this high bike example. So if we open the glossary, we can see there's a bunch of terms we have defined that have a specific translation in a different language or, for example, should not be translated. So for example, there's a Volt E1 e-bike that we're selling, which also shouldn't be translated in German. Then of course there's things like a fork, which has a specific term in German, things like drivetrain. So all of these things will be taken into account when you pass this guideline to an agent. So let's use it in action. We'll jump into content. We go to a specific product like the Arrow 1, and we can select a bunch of different entries here. These entries now can be sent to agents and specifically ones that we have configured. So in this case, we'll use Thomas the translator. We can see that Thomas allows us to translate to German. We see the entries we've selected and the guidelines that would apply here. So our glossary, our brand voice, and the audience. Lastly, we also know that there will be a version snapshot done before the agent does anything, so we can always safely roll back if we don't like certain changes. So let's go ahead and send this off. You can see now that all of these entries are in a translating state, meaning they're pending, and once they're complete, you can review them. While this is running, we can go back to our AI Hub and take a look at how we configure agents. So in here, we can see that Thomas the translator, we can edit it and we can see that there's a couple of different guidelines we can pass along. So in this case, we've chosen those 3. We can define where on which specific models the agent can be used. So we can limit it if you don't want to have it available on all models. And lastly, you can configure which languages you want to translate to. In this case, in German. Additionally, we also have 2 other agents available, the summarization agent and the SEO expert. Both of them will actually be configured when you run them. All of these agents are still available as workflow agents, but there's just this new way of triggering them from the table and from the content entry. So let's go back to our content and see how the translation actually went. So in here, we can see that all 4 entries are now ready for review. If we click on an entry, we see that they're moved to a read-only state and we need to review to continue, but we can also review from the content table directly here. So for example, let's take a look at Arrow 1. We can see that, for example, German got translated here. We have different fields available now. As an example, we don't want to have this tagline, we don't like it, so we restore, and the rest looks good. We can approve all of the remaining fields. So now the entry is approved. If we open it back up, it's all editable again, and you can continue also moving it to a different agent if you want to. So the cool thing is that you can always revert and only changes on draft are made. It's never published, so you're still in full control of what gets published. So let's take a look at the other agents we have available, like the summarization agent. For that, we'll head into the article model, and in here we go to building the Volt E1. In here we can see an entry with a rich text field and an empty excerpt. So this is what we can use to summarize the content to. Launching the agent is also possible from the right-hand sidebar. So in here we can select Simon the Summarizer. We choose maybe the title and the content body as the input fields. We choose our excerpt as the output field. We can select the tone if we want to, but of course we can also pass along our guidelines. So let's say something like conversational. We choose to summarize, and now we can wait until the actual content entry is being summarized. All right, the summarization is complete. We can review the changes, and we can see that the excerpt now is written based on the fields that we have generated, and we can see what was used for that summarization. We can revert it or we can keep it. In this case, it looks fine, so let's approve it. And this is our excerpt that we can now use on social media posts or in a quick summary of a blog post. All right. Lastly, what we have available is an SEO expert, which takes a look at the content entry and then suggests changes we can make in order to improve SEO quality. So for this, we can also take a look at an article, but we can also use, for example, a page and just see how that works. So let's take a look at our blog post, our blog page. In here, we have a bunch of different sections. You can also see within live preview how that looks like. So let's close live preview and actually run the SEO expert. The SEO expert analyzes the content, generates an SEO score, and posts a comment with the report, and we can then take a look at it and do anything with it. In this case, it's a read-only agent. It won't change anything, but it can also take some guidelines into account. So let's analyze SEO and take a look at the report. All right, the review is done and we can take a look at it. Let's open it up and we can see that we got a bad score here. There's no SEO object. We've seen that. There's no meta description. So overall, I can now take action on that and improve SEO overall for this page. We press got it, it's approved, and now we can continue working on it. So to wrap it up, these are the 3 changes we're introducing with this agents release. First up, you can now trigger agents from the content table. You can trigger them from the content forum. And there's, of course, full review capabilities while working with the agents, backed by guidelines that shape specifically what your agents produce. There's a few more things coming later, like filtering by agent status, adding more agents over time, but of course, we're also happy to hear your feedback.